This is Jean Marie Ward for Buzzy Magazine. With me today is award-winning writer, editor, technologist, and spoken word artist Mark Van Name. Welcome, Mark.
Thanks for having me, Jean Marie.
Thank you for joining us here. The mass market edition of No Going Back, the fifth science fiction novel featuring soldier of fortune John Moore and his intelligent assault vehicle Lobo, hit stores this month. What have our guys gotten themselves into this time?
Well, this is an interesting book because John is continuing to try and find his sister, whom he's been searching for since he was 16 years old. But the book has both present-day events and flashbacks, and people have teased me for a long time that John never gets lucky with girls. He's really terrible at reading women, which he is. And in this book, as I put in the contract with my publisher as the tentative title, John Gets Laid. Only it's first occurs in the past. So we meet a bunch of characters from his past. He ends up picking up some clues to his sister. As always happens with him, a lot of things go wrong. And by the end of the book, he's made a lot of really significant changes in the way he's going to approach things. The whole universe sort of tilts for him, and the next book's going to be a very, very different beast indeed because of what's happened in this one.
Is this one somewhat lighthearted, or is it going towards the dark?
It's heading towards the dark, although it has a lot of funny moments because there's a lot of him being extremely awkward with girls, which is something I have a lot of familiarity with. So the young John is clueless about dealing with women, and he is very much, we see him in that mode. We see him when he's about 28 years old in some sections of the book. But in the end, the book does turn toward the dark.
Mm-hmm. No spoilers, though.
No, I'm not going to say exactly how.
Darn. You're immersed in computer technology in your day job. How has your experience in the field influenced your fiction?
Well, I spent more than the last 20 years, actually going on the last 30 years, working with cutting-edge technology. Sometimes as a journalist, sometimes for a publishing company, building software called benchmark software that helps measure how well the products do things, and for the last 13 plus years in a company that works with technology marketing for new products. So it's given me a lot of experience with seeing what's coming next in technology. And that's a great background for writing science fiction because I spend all my daytime thinking about what's coming next in technology, what's happening, what are the cool new products, and the books, which I tend to work on in the evenings, let me do the same thing, only on a much farther out scale.
Was Lobo inspired by anything particular in your day job?
Lobo was actually a few different things. First was, if you turn the letters a little bit, you get Bolo, which is a tribute to Keith Laumer's giant tanks that were disused soldiers. They were his metaphors for veterans being treated badly. And in fact, one of the most powerful Bolo stories, I forget the title, but it was about a broken down machine trying to save things in its area. And in the first Jon and Lobo novel, One Jump Ahead, there's actually a scene where Lobo is in a town square and he is disused and broken. But it was also because in the tradition of mystery characters and mystery novels, the protagonist has a lot of concerns, he has morals, he has heartbreak, he's trying to do things, but he frequently has a friend who will do whatever it takes. So Spencer, the great Robert B. Parker's creation, has Hawk, who will do whatever needs to be done. John has Lobo, who is always like, can we just save some time and kill them all? And John's going, no, 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 let's not do that. But it is handy to have a very powerful friend who has very few qualms about doing whatever it takes. Yeah, Lobo is both the sidekick and the one who'll do anything, but he also lets me write really snarky dialogue. He is a very sarcastic character, and that's just great dialogue to write. I absolutely love writing him, and I've told many people in my dream casting Bill Nighy would be his voice because he has that beautiful, dry, British sarcasm, and he's the voice I hear in my head whenever I write Lobo's dialogue.
Oh, how cool. Getting back to the day job, though, What is Principal Technology?
Well, Principal Technology is a company that my business partner Bill Catchings and I own. It's in its 14th year, and we focus on technology marketing. But we started the company with the radical idea that the best way to sell products was to tell the truth. So what we do is actually prove any claim we ever make. So rather than trying to work on branding or make a claim that, oh, trust us because we said so, anything our company says is something that we have backed up by hands-on testing with products the same way users do it. And it's also, though, and this is something we've talked about in some of our materials online, it's a bit of a social and business experiment. One of the things that we're trying to do with Principal Technologies is rethink the way business should operate. So when we started the company, we tried to think about everything that a business traditionally does and then say, is that necessary? Is that a good idea? So for example, we thought about maximizing shareholder value, which is the goal of every public company. And we decided that even though we too are the shareholders, that would never be a priority. In fact, quite the opposite. Our priority is to do great work for our clients and to be a great place to work for our staff. So we maximize those two things, not what we individually make. We've actually been writing a book about this. We're in the third draft, called Limit Your Greed, which is about the notion that we can all win if we decide when we do things like starting businesses that maybe we don't need to take as much. We still do well. I make a great living. I can't complain. But maybe we don't need to take as much and we can all share. We're all in it together. So at PT, for example, just to give you some of the ideas that are different, we have no org charts. We have no titles. No one at PT gets a bonus unless everybody gets it. So we either all win or we all lose together. And we are very benefit-centric. Sorry, I started to say benchmark-centric. We do a lot of that too, but we're very benefit-centric and benefits-heavy, so we take care of each other, and that's a key part of the way the company works. And the differences go on and on.
Well, that sort of eases into your fiction again, because one of the themes that I noticed in everything I've read about your fiction is the focus on helping people in need. And was that intentional in your fiction? I mean, obviously you put it into your day job, you put it into Principal Technology, but was it something you intentionally put into the stories of Jon and Lobo, or did it just happen that way?
I think the things that come out strongest in my fiction, or any writer's fiction, are the things that they are most passionate about, and they're not necessarily the things we try to hammer home. I think when you try to write a polemic in fiction, inevitably you write a boring story, and what you should do is write the stories that you care about, and whatever is inside you that you care about will come out. For me, taking care of people comes, I think, from growing up fairly poor, growing up with a single mother, and being taught by her that we have to take care of each other, that the world is a tough place and people need a hand sometimes. And I think that that's true. This is a tough world. Even in what I think is the best country in the world, we are not good to all our people. We do not take care of each other enough. And so in the small areas where I have influence, I try to make sure that we take care of people. And if you read the Jon and Lobo books, there are two themes, I think, that come out. One is alienation, which is a natural, that's my normal state of feeling, is fairly alienated. And the second is that we need to try and take care of each other.
Mm-hmm. And you do that with the books as well by running charity events in connection with all your books. Could you tell our viewers a little bit about that?
Well, the big thing I did was with the fourth book, Children No More. I spent some time in my youth, and I've written about it on my blog, in a paramilitary youth group. It was a pretty brutal thing. Not a good place, nothing that a kid should have ever been in. I learned a lot of really bad things there. But I also came away with a deep conviction that we should be doing a better job taking care of children. So taking care of children affected by war was something important to me. So when I wrote this book, which Publishers Weekly called a page turner, but is almost entirely about taking care of former child soldiers, I decided that I was going to give everything I made from it to a charity that works with children affected by war. The charity is called Falling Whistles, and so I've never made any money off the book. I just give it away. I make a decent living. I don't need to, I'm better than decent living. I don't need to make every cent. So I've donated that money to try and help, in this case, particularly children in the Congo.
Very, very good. I don't know how to top that, actually. So why don't we go in a different direction? What is a spoken word artist?
Think of it as storytelling plus stand-up comedy. It's the easiest way. So I don't do one-liner jokes for the most part. I hardly ever do that, but I do story-based stand-up comedy. So in some ways closer to Henry Rollins than to Henny Youngman. So I tell stories. I try to pick mostly on myself. Sometimes people in my family, and if you stay around me for too long, you can end up in the show. You got to be really careful about that because everything's grist for the mill, as they say about all writing. But it's a chance to perform in a different way, to tell stories, make people laugh, and also, I hope, get across a few important things along the way. But mostly it's just entertainment to make people laugh. There's something beautiful and powerful about making a room full of people laugh.
It's the best medicine, after all.
It is. It is tremendous fun. The dark side is if you're standing up on stage, and I've premiered several shows at Balticons in the past, and premiering a new one here on Saturday. When you stand up on stage and you've got 200, 300, 400 people, and they're all laughing, it's fantastic. And then if you miss, and if the joke bombs, suddenly it's a dead quiet room, and it's just you on stage. And that is one of the worst feelings on earth. So you have to kind of recover quickly when that happens.
Yeah, it keeps you light on your feet, and that gets back to fiction, because you have to keep coming. Speaking of which, what are you working on now?
I am, embarrassingly, multiple years late on my next book, which is currently called All the World's Against Us, and it's the 6th book in the Jon and Lobo series. I also have been took a break to write with Bill the first few drafts of the book Limit Your Greed, which is going to be a business book. And then I wrote a story once for a collection, an omnibus of my first 2 novels, called Lobo, actually, which was a Christmas story told by Lobo that you can read as a Christian or as a non-Christian and enjoy it either way. It refuses to come down on either side of that issue. And it got me thinking, and so I have the beginnings of, and will eventually finish, a second Lobo Christmas story. And then I also have a third of a mystery novel, a pure mystery novel started.
Cool, cool. Well, we're just coming to the end of our show, and we always ask our interviewees, or our victims, as the case may be, is there anything you'd like to add?
Just keep reading, whatever it is, not me, anybody, just keep reading.
Cool. Thank you so much, Mark, and thank you for Buzzy Magazine.
Thank you.